can hear everyone saying Shabbat Shalom back. So this week's Torah portion is called Shelach Lecha, and it deals with the story about the scouts. And it also tells us the beginning of the narrative starts with the 12 scouts that were sent to go scout out the land of Israel and report back. And then the end of the portion talks about the mitzvah of tzitzit. So tzitzit, if you don't know, are these fringes that we wear on the corner when we pray. So the interesting thing about this story, this week's story, our wisdom, is that the same word is used in the beginning as in the end. The word is latur, to scout out. So the 12 scouts are said they have to go latur at Eretz Canaan. They have to go scout out the land. And then at the end of the portion it says, lo taturu, don't let your eyes stray from what is essential. So then I'm focusing on this idea of what does it mean to be a scout tonight? What does it mean to not let the eyes stray, to stay focused on what is essential? Interestingly enough, the word latur is said 12 times in the portion for each one of the scouts. Each one of us must imagine ourselves to be this scout who goes on a journey. The scouts come back. 10 of them say, we can't do this. We can't go forward. We don't know what the future is. 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, say, we can do it. God gets, again, super angry, and I think God probably overreacts because the punishment is that the whole generation that is in the wilderness, the whole generation that made the exodus from the land of Egypt, from the land of Mitzrayim, now must perish in the wilderness and they can't reach the promised land. I think it's a bit of an overreaction, but sometimes parents can overreact, So in the middle of this whole story where we have the scouts going out and we have this commandment for tzitzit, we have all these Israelites stuck right in the middle. And there's a teaching that says that even the ones who agreed with Joshua and Caleb and said, we can do this, we can make this land, even the ones who were silent and didn't speak up, they were punished along with the rest. And so I'm thinking a lot about this idea of what it means to be silent. Even if you agree with what's going on, what does your silence mean if you do not speak up? Our tradition praises silence when it comes to our prayer life and when we have moments of wonder and awe. But our tradition condemns silence in the face of injustice. We've been studying every day at noon now, and our studying has been going on now every day for over 90 days. And in the past few days, some of us who are on here today, we've been learning about Pirkei Avot, maxims of our wisdom masters or ethics of our fathers. And a few quotes from those teachings come into this thought about silence in the face of injustice and what I'm thinking about today. The first one here says, do not despair of justice. And Rabbi Rama Shapiro teaches, because justice is slow, do justly yourself and work for justice in your community. And in the end, evil will fall by the wayside. And then Pirkei Avot goes on to say, in a place where there is no hero, be the hero. And so we looked, what does it mean to be a hero? Proverbs teaches a hero is one who speaks for the silenced. A hero is one who speaks out for those who are silenced. Again, this idea of silence and injustice comes to my mind, and I'm thinking about this pastor. His name was Martin Niemöller. He lived from 1892 right to 1984. He was a prominent Lutheran pastor. Spent the last 7 years in a Nazi concentration camp. Was accepting of Hitler's regime, and then when he realized what was going on, became an outspoken foe. And in the years after him being in the concentration camp for 7 years, and he survives, his words, we probably have heard his words, and they come in many different forms, but they really ring true to me today as I experience what's going on in New York City and in the country. So his words are, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So today, we're all celebrating, I hope, Juneteenth. One of the oldest national celebrated commemorations of the ending of slavery. Dating back to 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger landed in Texas. Interestingly, it was 2.5 years before that date when Abraham Lincoln had the Emancipation Proclamation. And so there are reasons why it took 2.5 years to reach that. What I learned from that moment, from that idea, that it took 2.5 years from the Emancipation Proclamation to the day that we're celebrating today, Juneteenth, is that there is a lot of work yet to be done. We were out on the streets today and we saw a whole bunch of people showing up, celebrating and still protesting the fact that silence doesn't work. Like those who heard the reports of the scouts and didn't speak up is just as bad, right? That is also a form of injustice. And so I'm learning now from this holiday where we walk the streets today, from the scouts who came back and said we couldn't do it. Martin Adler teaches that when the scouts went to scout out the land of Israel, it wasn't about a geographical location. The scouting out of the land was about scouting out of our future. The 12 scouts were not sent to just explore the land. They were sent to explore what will the future of our world community be, of all of us on earth be. So that makes me think, each one of us has to be a scout in our own right. That each one of us has to go out and not be silent when the call is not to be silent. That's the way the world moves forward. And to return back to our Pirkei Avot, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, there are 3 things that ensure the world's survival: justice, truth, and peace. And Rabbi Rami comments, a world without justice is a world run by fear. Fear gives rise to anger, anger to violence, and violence to even greater fear and injustice. And I know this is not a world that I want to live in. I know this is a world that none of us want to live in. So today, as I think about this Torah portion, and I think about the beginning, where we each have to be a scout that goes out, latur, we hear that word, et haaretz. We go out to scout the future. And then the end of the Torah portion, lo taturu, don't let your eyes and thoughts stray from what is most essential. And all of Israelites, all of us God wrestlers, all of us wrestling with what the future may bring. For me, the teaching that I am taking home with me this Shabbat, our Cash Torah, is silence does not work. If we've seen all the signs that silent equals violence, silence is also a form of injustice. And so on Juneteenth, as we celebrate reading this Torah portion about Shelach Lecha, I pray that each one of us is a scout in our own right. Each one of us goes out and looks and seeks to plant the seeds for the future, and the future that we want to have for ourselves and for our children and for the next generations. And then when it comes to the tzitzit, when we wear this ritual prayer garment, what I do and what each of us do at part of the prayer service is we bring the 4 corners of this garment. I bring the 4 corners of the earth into my prayer. And though my prayer is silence, my prayer is also loud. So may we pray in a way that can be heard, so that justice can be heard. Nothing is more important than going out and being seekers of justice. Prayer is just the beginning point. But prayer must lead to action. In the Jewish tradition, that is the goal of what it means to be a Yisrael, one who wrestles with God. It means to say, I stand up and I will be a scout, and I will go scout out the future, and I will not be silent in the face of injustice. I will stand up and I will be loud in the face of injustice so that justice can reign. That's my prayer for myself, and I hope it's my prayer for each and every one of us in the days ahead. We can really feel a movement happening, and it's a beautiful thing. Each one of us is a child of the divine. Each one of us is a child of the earth. Each one of us deserves and needs the equal amount of fair treatment. May it be so in our lifetime. May we do it for each other. And really, a hero is someone who speaks out for the silenced. May we be a hero for each other now and in the days to come. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with our prayer service. All of my heroes, each one of us showing up for each other. We're a hero.